Hello and welcome. You're watching Beyond World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look as to what is making headlines at this hour.
Make sure that if there's peace, the peace is going to stay long term. This is very long term. We're not talking about a 2-year peace and then we end up in this mess again. We're going to make sure that everything's good. We'll work with Russia. We're going to work with Ukraine. And we're going to make sure it works.
The American President Donald Trump calls for lasting peace in Ukraine and says that there is a need for an urgent peace deal between Kiev and Moscow, while sitting next to the Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. The American President Donald Trump does not rule out sending American troops into Ukraine to help maintain a potential peace deal. His openness to allowing American troops on the ground in Ukraine could make for a major shift in American policy.
We're going to have a meeting. I think if everything works out well today, we'll have a trilat. And I think there will be a reasonable chance of ending the war when we do that.
The President Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky expressed hope that critical talks with Ukrainian and European leaders at the White House could lead to a potential trilateral talks. That would include the Russian President Vladimir Putin to bring an end to this 3+ year long war in Ukraine. The European leaders, including Emmanuel Macron, Keir Starmer, Giorgia Meloni, among others, joined the Trump-Zelensky talks at the White House. All of them pose for a joint photograph.
Now the way is open for complicated negotiations. And to be honest, we all would like to see a ceasefire. Steps ahead are the more complicated ones now.
The German Chancellor Friedrich Merz calls for a ceasefire in Ukraine before a leaders' trilateral summit and contradicts the American President Donald Trump's call to work for a peace deal with Russia instead.
And we've worked very hard during the past few years to have a peace which is a robust and long-standing peace. This is why the idea of a trilateral meeting is very important.
President Emmanuel Macron calls for a 4-way meeting, including with the Europeans. This in response to the American President Donald Trump's hope of bringing together the Ukrainian and the Russian presidents on the same table. And President Donald Trump presents the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky with a large map showing the 20% of the country that is under Russian control. During their Oval Office meeting, the eastern part of the map is shaded in pink to represent the nearly 20% of the country that has now been occupied by the Russian forces after this 3+ year long war in Ukraine. Now, Hamas accepts a new ceasefire proposal for the Gaza Strip without requesting for amendments, which includes temporary suspension of military operations for a period of 60 days. This after a fresh diplomatic push to end the more than 22 months of war.
It's surprising that this is happening in this day and age and that we see it, because social media has really opened our eyes to the world. It seems surprising to me that we see it and do nothing, and we can just continue with our lives as if nothing happened. So I think everything adds up.
Iran said Monday it was ready for talks on its nuclear program that would ease the burden of sanctions on the country. This is not something new. We have said that to build confidence about the peaceful nature of our nuclear program, we are ready to take a series of actions, provided that the unfair sanctions are lifted. In July, Iran's foreign minister said the country would not give up nuclear enrichment. The talks will continue, and probably within the upcoming days, a new round of talks between Iran and the IAEA will be held. Relations between Iran and the UN's nuclear agency soured after a 12-day air war was waged by Israel and the US in June, which saw key Iranian nuclear facilities targeted. Just a day before the war, the IAEA had accused Tehran of non-compliance.
You say to the Ukrainian people right now who are suffering under the Russian attacks and hoping that the American people will stand with them?
Well, I know Ukrainian people. I've known many over the years. They're great people. They're smart. They're energetic. They love their country. I mean, they love their country, and we want to get this war ended. That's all I can do. I love the Ukrainian people, but I love all people. I love the Russian people. I love them all. I want to get the war stopped.
What would you say to the Ukrainian people right now who are suffering under the Russian attacks and hoping that the American people will stand with them?
Well, I know Ukrainian people. I've known many over the years. They're great people. They're smart. They're energetic. They love their country. I mean, they love their country, and we want to get this war ended. That's all I can do. I love the Ukrainian people, but I love all people. I love the Russian people. I love them all. I want to get the war stopped.
What guarantees do you need from President Trump to be able to make a deal? Is it American troops, intelligence, equipment? What is it?
Everything. Really, it includes two parts. First, strong Ukrainian army. That's what I began to discuss with your colleagues. And it's a lot about weapon and then people and training missions and intelligence. And second, we will discuss with our partners. It depends on the big countries, on the United States, on a lot of our friends.
And Mr. President, are you willing to commit American troops to that NATO-like protection in order to get President Zelensky to a deal today?
Well, I don't know if you define it that way, but NATO-like, I mean, we have people waiting in another room right now. They're all here from Europe, biggest people in Europe, and they want to give protection. They feel very strongly about it, and we'll help them out with that. I think it's very important. I think it's very important to get the deal done.
You've been involved with the peacekeeping in Ukraine since your first day in the administration. What would you say to the Ukrainian people right now who are suffering under the Russian attacks and hoping that the American people will stand with them?
Well, I know Ukrainian people. I've known many over the years. They're great people. They're smart. They're energetic. They love their country. I mean, they love their country, and we want to get this war ended. That's all I can do. I love the Ukrainian people, but I love all people. I love the Russian people. I love them all. I want to get the war stopped. Very important.
Was there any aspect of your discussion with Vladimir Putin that left you disappointed?
Look, we just spoke to, I was just telling the president, I just spoke to President Putin indirectly, and we're going to have a phone call right after these meetings today. And we may or may not have a trilat. If we don't have a trilat, then the fighting continues. And if we do, we have a good chance. I think if we have a trilat, there's a good chance of maybe ending it. But he's expecting my call when we're finished with this meeting.
What do you want? What do you want? Identification. No, la voy a abrir. Hey, you can't do that! No le abras, no le abras, no le abras, no le abras, no le abras. No le abras. Guay. No le abras. No le abras. No la puedo abrir, ¿por qué? What do you want? What do you want? Identification. No, la voy a abrir. Hey, you can't do that!
Some Republican-led states are sending National Guard troops to Washington, D.C., answering President Trump's call for reinforcements in his federal takeover. 3 GOP governors have pledged hundreds of troops. West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, and South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster are deploying a combined 750 troops, nearly double the 800 already in the nation's capital. The move comes as Trump vows to crack down on what he calls rampant crime. But federal statistics show crime is on the decline since 2023. The federalization of D.C. has sparked protests as interactions between law enforcement and residents increase. Federal authorities say they've made dozens of immigration arrests in Washington, D.C. amid the ramped-up enforcement.
You've heard of Dine and Dash? This is a case of dine and crash.
Dine and crash. These food bloggers are about to try some delicious food. Suddenly, a car comes crashing through the restaurant. Glass is shattered. The impact knocks them over.
I'm gonna try the fries.
Influencers Nina Unrated and Patrick Blackwood eat amazing meals all around town.
You guys have a job that nobody would consider dangerous, I think.
We were just enjoying our food.
But they never expected this.
That could have been my last meal.
Patrick and Nina were rushed to the hospital with cuts all over.
That car came straight at us. It's a miracle that we are not hurt in a way where we're missing limbs.
So this is where it came in at, right here.
It happened at Kuvi's Culinary Creations in Houston.
If you take a look at the video, they were still chewing while they were moving.
So scary. The restaurant temporarily closed to clean up the mess, but was back open later that day.
Colorado is one of 6 states to receive a SNAP waiver from the USDA. The waiver bans people from using SNAP benefits on certain processed food and beverages. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says the assistance is meant to provide health food for low-income families. He cited foods like soda and candy as, quote, products that fuel America's diabetes and chronic disease epidemics. Ivan Rodriguez joins us and breaks down the impact of these changes.
Our department has encouraged states to think differently and creatively about how to solve the many health issues facing Americans.
Earlier this month, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Colorado, and West Virginia were granted new waivers to restrict the purchase of so-called junk food with Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program benefits starting in 2026. They joined 6 other states that have already received the waivers.
U.S. taxpayers should not be paying to feed kids foods, the poorest kids in our country, with foods that are going to give them diabetes.
Of the states that have been granted waivers so far, most will restrict the use of SNAP funds on soft drinks or sodas, while at least 8 restrict candy purchases. Some also prohibit food benefits from being used on energy drinks. And in Arkansas, the purchase of fruit and vegetable drinks with less than 50% natural juice.
These restrictions, they don't solve hunger or improve health. They only limit choices for people who already face barriers.
Cavell Christie says if healthier communities is the goal, the answer isn't controlling grocery carts. She says families do want healthier foods, but they're often inaccessible or too expensive.
There's also the barrier of not having places that actually sell those type of healthier food options in a lot of communities.
The city of Denver is laying off employees and eliminating hundreds of positions as it faces a massive budget shortfall. This week, 171 people will lose their jobs, though we still don't know which departments those people work for and the impact that will have on public services. 9 News reporter Mark Salinger is following the breaking news this afternoon. Hey, Mark.
Yeah, Sam, the headline here is the 171 people who were laid off, but the city is also cutting 665 more positions that are currently unfilled. They're not filling those positions. Another 92 positions will be transferred off the city general fund to another funding source. So that brings the total number of positions impacted by these announcements today to 928, or around 8.4% of the city's workforce. Today, many employees with the city of Denver were told to work from home as the layoffs began. We're told the layoffs will continue over the next couple of days, at least through Wednesday. We don't yet have a breakdown of who will lose their job or in which departments those eliminated positions are in. The Teamsters Union, which represents around 1,000 city workers, says they were never told exactly how many people will lose their jobs, even as the layoffs began today.
I asked the mayor, you wanted this? You wanted to fight with the union? You wanted to fight with the Teamsters? Well, brother, you got it.
That was Ronnie Houston with the Teamsters Union. The number of people laid off is perhaps less than some of the unions that I spoke with earlier this week feared. However, 171 people coming home this week telling their families they no longer have a job. Sam, of course, that's a huge impact.
That's a huge impact. I mean, a lot of people can relate. I'm not saying to this degree or to diminish it. I've been laid off, but I can only imagine almost not knowing if you are going to be one of those, not knowing if you're going to be able to put food on the table, considering the climate right now. And do we know? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was going to say that there's still people today who are watching this newscast right now saying 171 people will be laid off. And unfortunately, those people, or some of those people, will find out that their job and their position has been cut over the next couple of days.
That's right. Yeah, Mark Salinger.
China is reportedly developing pregnancy robots. Yes, you heard me right. Complete with artificial wombs to help couples struggling with infertility. This is not science fiction. Billy, this is absolutely wild. Let me read you something from the doctor who's spearheading this technology, Dr. Zhang Quifeng. He said, quote, "The artificial womb technology is already in a mature stage, and now it needs to be implanted in the robot's abdomen so that a real person and the robot can interact to achieve pregnancy, allowing the fetus to grow inside." Billy, what's your reaction?
I mean, this is horrifying on a number of levels. You know, I think, look, there are people who are going to say this is going to help people who can't have children. And I understand and I sympathize with that piece of the puzzle. You're trying to have children. You can't do it. You're looking for a way to have that happen. I think there are so many ethical issues that emerge with this, though. You know, God designed the body in a very particular way, not just the body, but he designed relations between a man and a woman in a particular way. And a baby growing inside, I mean, you have children, I have children, growing inside the womb of a human mother, there's a connection point there that you want to see happen that is not happening in this case. What you have is a machine purportedly, and we have not seen this yet to know that this is actually something that could work, right? They're saying it could work. They're saying it could happen. I think we know that science is moving at such a fast speed that it won't be shocking to see this happen. But the point is there are severe and massive ethical issues with this. Also keeping in mind the fact that in testing this, you have to assume, outside of all the other issues, that there are going to be losses of human life, because I doubt it's going to work on the first try. So it's a little bit horrifying, honestly.
Well, you know, just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder, past few years it's been kosher to call someone a birthing person, which my wife finds horribly offensive. It's like, I'm a mother, and you guys are taking that away from me. I'm like, okay, let me, babe, let me throw you another one. Pregnancy robots. I wonder how she's going to take that one. But apparently the price is 100,000 yen, which is about $14,000. Which, you know, to your point, if surrogates cost between 100K and 200K, this is a much cheaper option. Now we've talked about, gender confusion, all that stuff. But now we're talking about non-human relations, humanoid ethics. It's a whole new can of worms. I was thinking like, God, like, what's a Bible verse that I could, use to add to this conversation? I'm like, I don't know. Like I have to start from square one. Like, okay, robots creating or at least facilitating human life. I don't know where that is in scripture. So Billy, maybe in closing, like how do we even start this conversation from a biblical ethics standpoint?
Yeah, I think we have to start it with prayer and understanding. A lot of times when something isn't going the way we want it to in life, we try to take matters into our own hands. And I think this is an example of this. I'm not saying this wouldn't help some people. I'm not saying there wouldn't be elements that people could argue are good. I think you have to pray through, though, and ask God, are the negatives outweighing the positives? And one thing we do have to mention here, this is not just a womb. As far as we can understand, it's a humanoid, as you said. It's supposed to look like a human, act like a human, and do what humans can do, which is to not only facilitate the growth of life, but then actually have the baby. So there's so much here I think we need to be praying about. That's where we start. We go to God in prayer and we say, God, is this of you? Is this not of you? And some people may say, well, I already know the answer to that. But I think with all these matters, we should turn to him. And look, this is bizarre. There is more bizarreness to come. I think this is just starting to scratch the surface of how weird things are going to get.
Yeah, I mean, with AI, with humanoid robots, I feel like we're going to have a lot more of these conversations coming up here soon. Obviously, keep it here on CBN News. Hey, if one of these humanoid robots wants to watch my 2.5-year-old when he's wilding out, I'm cool with that.
Babysit, do the laundry, clean the house, humanoids, do all of those things.
Exactly.
Maybe not have our babies.
Exactly. Billy, I appreciate your time. And again, this is one of those kind of open-ended conversations. So please do comment in the comment section. We're genuinely curious. Like, what do you make of this? This is definitely not the last one of these stories that we're going to be talking about. But as for now, Billy, God bless, my friend.